Alright, it is 9:29 and I'm going to make this quick. The majority of these are going to be morning panic bounce play potentials, and I will be trying that thing I mentioned in the weekly recap video. I'm going to try to consider a larger size. I will be a bit cautious because it is a Monday, and being a Monday it could have one of these a big crazy tsunami type panic, so I'll have to keep that into consideration, but I'm going to be focused on morning panic bounce plays for right now. Alright, it is 9:40 and I want to go over the two trades I've had, and I did not trade the first one well. I did that same mistake, but this is a morning panic bounce play TGGI, and my first entry was at 9:32, right at the very end of 9:32, playing off of what was at the time looking like a level 2 reversal, and that was 50,000 shares at 202, so that was basically $1,000 position right here. And then what the issue was is that I went ahead and I decided to be an idiot and not cut the trade immediately. Perhaps I wouldn't have been able to cut the trade if, by example, I tried cutting losses as soon as it breaks that 2 level, but I didn't do that. And what I did was at least get a not so bad entry at 191, and that was at 9:34, the more ideal minutes. I will be looking at this now. If it kind of makes like a double bottom, I will be interested in trading it again, but 9:34 I was in it, and then I sold the entire position just 11 seconds later. And that's the problem with when you do something like that, you have one entry, then one, you get a really good entry ultimately, but you're not able to hold it just because you traded it so horribly. And I guess I'm gonna have to say that it probably broke this 1.9 level. I'm gonna be looking at this now at this point. This one is kind of known to break the day low like it did the other week, so I'm going to take that into consideration, but it might try to turn around here. Did my order just not get through? I'm gonna be hoping that it went through and it just that hasn't updated ideally, but I probably didn't get through. We'll see how it plays off the 2 level. I would cut the trade if I'm in it if it breaks this 192 level. I'm gonna pretend I'm in the trade, but I'm probably not, which sucks, but I could try to do a double bottom at the actual bottom that it had previously at that 1.9 flats level. Alright, I'm gonna guess I wasn't filled, but I'll come back with the recording later. Alright, it is 9:46. Okay, so what happened was I didn't get executed in the initial downtrend here, and I think maybe a millisecond after I closed the video, I stopped the video, I got executed at, let's take a look, 195, 942. So yeah, as it kind of downtrended towards the level, right? So it failed here, right, my entry, but it did play off, and I did get my entry in at 195 eventually. It's not too ideal because I like them a lot better when they have like a double bottom from this range here, and this was a higher low like IOUS was last week. And this one can continue the uptrend, but I don't know, I just got kind of chickened out. I sold at 202, which right now is the top, but this thing could very well just continue to hold itself together and make an uptrend. I'm just a little chicken, and I am up on the day because of that trade. That was a $32 profit, 54, and then at 65 the initial one, and I was trading mega large size, especially the second one. That wasn't really you know, what I was planning to do. The problem is that I had 2 entries on that first one because I didn't cut losses quickly like a normal person. I was kind of dumb and I didn't cut losses quickly. Then I bought here, and you know, because it did break under this 19 level, even though it came back, that's when I think that's where I was back at before I got interrupted. But it was a sell right after, just 10 seconds later after that one, because I think I'll just start from the beginning, not too really complicated anymore. But anyway, I had my first entry that was around right here, this level, and instead of cutting losses quickly when it broke that 20 level, or at least try, I could have tried cutting, and if I didn't get, you know, my thing executed, alright, that's just too bad. But that wasn't the case here. The issue is that I didn't do it, and then I had another entry down here, and then I sold immediately later because it probably broke under 19 and it got to the 18s, and I thought, okay, this thing can really just continue and look really disgusting. Okay, and that's when I had my sell there at 934. Obviously the very bottom, which is super nice. At least I did do an entry there, but I also sold there because, again, having that initial position is just gonna mess me up, and not just me, anybody in general who is trying to trade something like this and not trade optimally. And then 935 right here, I did because it looked like the bottom was in and it was holding itself. We also had the big volume candle here at 934. I could have maybe considered the timing a little better at 934, but I think the timing with the seconds thing that I've mentioned a few times, it seems to be really helping. I did get in at, again, I didn't mean to trade this large. This was a $2,000 position at 935. And that was in this green candle, 194, so right here. And then I sold that one at 199. It looks like I tried selling at 935 the same minute when it had that crazy spike, I guess. And this one got executed at 936 and 199 ultimately. And it did get higher, it did touch VWAP, but I'm just gonna guess I didn't trade it perfectly because I was being a little chicken, you know, scared. And that's why you have to really cut losses when it doesn't work, or at least try. If it doesn't, you know, happen, you're not able to cut because the thing went too fast or whatever. That's why you don't trade a large position in theory, which is still small for my accounts. I still have, I'm in a cash account, I still have, you know, cash to trade with. But yeah, that it even messed up my trade that I wasn't even really a part of, you know, in terms of it being completely different from the other one. I still didn't trade that one as well, probably because I was still messed up from that first one. And then, okay, this last trade, the one I just went over, I almost went over it live. 195, it kind of came back. I didn't get executed in this candle, I got executed in this one right here. And I did sell at the top right now, 202, but it's still holding itself nicely. This thing could, it's kind of sketchy because it is playing off a very important level of 2 pennies, but it could try to turn around later, and it could try to go green on the day too, or maybe just finish at like 215. I honestly have no clue, but if I had to guess, this thing still has a lot of room for improvement. I sold here at the top, and it was a little chicken sell because in theory, a lot of these put up a higher low, and this might be the higher low from here, and then from here, and do an uptrend. This thing could very well break too, but I don't want to really overtrade this thing anymore. I'll just sit back and watch. I'm still up on the day. Thanks to God for that. FERN didn't look that nice in the morning. TNR didn't look nice either. ISWH looks nasty, but at least this one made a move too. CYBL is trying to do a, what happened in my charts? CYBL is trying to do an uptrend. It is trying to break out of this level, and out of all of them, this one looked the healthiest. I'm really excited to see, well, you know, where this thing is going to top. It might have topped here, but I'm not a crazy short seller. ILUS trading kind of weird. This one is trying to do a breakout as well. In theory, it is kind of doing it, but is it going to really like make a move? You know, do something cool? It could do that. I'll make an update. Yeah, TGGI is at 205 now. I could have traded maybe like a $300 position, but I don't want to really push it anymore. I did trade this a few times, so yeah, I'll make an update to see what this one does. I think I was a lot closer to trading one of these very nicely. I did trade with size, but I clearly need to do better at cutting losses quickly. I just get so pissed when it like breaks the level just by a tiny bit, and then it comes back and uptrends, and then you feel like an idiot. But I need to do that because this was an example where it didn't, you know, hold. It actually broke and went another level, and it messes up the rest of my trades. Although the one when it came back here, that was a really good trade. That's all I have for right now. Alright, it is 10:27 a.m. and I don't think I'm going to trade the rest of the day. I think it's just good to just have tried a morning panic bounce play. It wasn't the perfect execution. Maybe somebody who's watching this is going to be triggered. Show me how you traded it, but I think I have a framework in mind with TGGI, and it is doing exactly what, you know, has happened to a lot of these morning panic bounce play stocks. It's putting up higher highs, higher lows, so it's doing very nice now at 216. So it didn't touch 22, but if we just count from this 20 level to 21.5, what is that? That is that's like 7.5%. That's really not that bad, and that was an entry. If you were to get it at 20, I had it at 195, so that would make it a 10% move, give or take, from this 195 level entry right here. My last trade where I traded the best, you know, the best, and it was a good size. It wasn't too big. It wasn't two entries because I didn't cut losses in one of them. It wasn't one large entry on accident. It was the right size. You know, it wasn't the initial morning panic bounce play. It was a morning panic bounce play high or low. Sometimes it's a double bottom, which to me is a lot nicer. You know, it continued to do the thing. I had my sell here. It did downtrend, but it was a higher low. You know, I had a fear that it would be a lower low and just break and fail, because, you know, I was probably shaking out because I had that horrible entry right here that I didn't cut, at least try cut immediately. So that was the sell right here. It did get as high as this 208 level. Here's a higher low from here, or here if you want to call it. Here's a higher high, higher low, higher high. So now this thing might in theory drop as long as it makes a higher low. You know, that's gonna be something you continue to hold, and then ideally it makes a higher high. If it makes a double top, if it just starts trading straight, you know, back and forth in a certain range, and you know, maybe something like that, the pattern changes, that's when you take a sell, and that would be a very profitable sell. And yeah, I look forward to just doing something like that. Let's just see in theory what would have been. You know, if I traded that last part without being as scared as I was, if I were to have taken this out, 975, right? So what is that? That's like $100. Yeah, that's $100. That would have been $100 with a $1,000 position. That would have been 10%. Like I said previously, from 195. I can totally do something like this. Instead, I finished up today like $22. As for the other guys, they're not really. ISWH kind of looked like it was having a morning panic bounce play, but it traded all weird, so I never put money in it. But it did do that nice spike. CEI looks kind of interesting for a short, but it could continue the move forward. Why not? But it is at least right here making an official lower high from this level. If it doesn't try to like come back immediately. If it makes a downtrend, it might be like a high for the moment, but you know, a lower high from here. I probably won't trade it though. I probably won't trade anything. I'm gonna pick up my car from the stay inspection place, and yeah, I think I'm closer than ever than trying to try one of these morning panic bounce plays. I think that's for sure something, a good step in the right direction. Alright, it is 2:39 p.m. and I just want to really go over how this in particular, this morning panic bounce play played out. This one did have that bottom here, and it did put up a higher low, kind of like ILUS, the first one last week. It continued to put up, you know, higher highs, higher lows, and let me get rid of actually extended hours. It continued to do it, and then I guess it wasn't until here where it didn't really put up like a higher low. It just kind of consolidated over a level, and then it had that run up here at 224, and then it started to downtrend, but still it was technically higher than here, and maybe you can call this a higher low, but to me it just looks like a consolidation. It didn't necessarily have a dip per se, at least compared to the other ones, and then it started to consolidate, and then right here it just wasn't able to uptrend. If I was still holding this, I might have considered selling it, you know, right here in the 21.3 level. In theory, just playing off of that setup, I wouldn't have gotten to highs, I doubt it. But once it started to show that, hey, it didn't really put up a higher high, and it didn't really dip, you know, making nice, healthy, higher lows, that's probably when I would have gotten out, maybe somewhere here. Again, I would have gotten any of this or any of this. Well, it's all hindsight, you know, perhaps I would have maybe sold somewhere else, but in theory, that's why I want to try these morning panic bounce play setups. It has that panic, I'm in, I sell half at VWAP, it downtrends, maybe I'll consider an add, but really when it downtrends, I'm just going to have to cut losses if it breaks the day low, which was back here. In this case, it held, and then it put up a higher low, right, and then it started playing that nice price action, and then try to sell once it stops putting up higher highs, higher lows. It doesn't mean you get the best price, but it does mean that you get a good price, I think. So it looks like it did downtrend. I did see this, like right when I had to go and do something else, but it looked like it didn't turn around that. It wasn't that nice anymore. And there's nothing else here that I would be interested in. Maybe an inverse head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, perhaps. I mean, it got to 168 to 178, but that would have been hard to sell there. There wasn't really, there wasn't really good range. Maybe you can call this the shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder, and maybe it's trying to do a move. But in that case, I'm probably late to it. No, maybe not, but it's a downtrending inverse head and shoulder, so I don't necessarily like it. It's down 26% on the day, but it did offer that nice morning panic bounce play, a great example. FERN is just trying to stay at its highs, TONR as well. None of these look really interesting. ISWH had a really crappy one, but this one did continue, and it got as high as 377. That's a very weird looking candle. ILUS is trying to uptrend too. It's trying to break above that level, over 41. It's trying, and it's definitely trying to do something. It's not really the best looking thing, but it's trying. CYBL, the one that I thought was the healthiest, it is trying to hold at its highs. This one can continue the run for a few more days. It might just choke there too. It's really 50-50 if you ask me. And CEI, at one point I was interested in the short setup, maybe here when it had a lower high from here, but then I would have had to have been short in the 240 level, right? And then I would have probably have not cut losses here, but definitely here once it started to consolidate. And even though it did come back, it's just healthy to trade like that, cutting losses. It did put up here, in theory, a little bit of a lower high, but it did have a wick there that was higher. This thing is still trying to look very strong. I would not be interested in shorting it. That's all I have for right now. I'll make an update later. I don't see any late day setups that I'm gonna be interested in trading. The closest thing would probably be that inverse head and shoulders with TGGI, but it doesn't even look that nice. It looks like a downtrending one, and while those do turn around sometimes, I'm not that interested in this one in particular. I'll probably just leave it alone. Alright, it is 8:58 and I'm here to call it off. I made I think like $22 today, but I did not like how I traded it. You know, there were a lot of things I could have done better. I should have cut losses when that first level broke, and then had I have done that, that probably would have helped me trade the setup a lot better. But I'm glad that I was able to try, and the setup was given to me, and I still made something out of it, but I could have done a lot better. I need to really try cutting losses quickly if the range low breaks, even if it is something like this where maybe I take an entry at 190, I freak out because it does this little baby wick and it comes back. I need to be able to cut losses quickly when something, you know, like that happens, where the day low breaks, especially here where it was pretty convincing. One of these days there's going to be one and it's going to drop like 20-30% immediately in the morning, and I'm going to be sitting there with a 20% loss because, you know, it was down only 10% on the day and it went down 20 more if I don't cut losses quickly. So that's really all I have, nothing else. This thing did continue to downtrend. It did do a reversal here, but no, that wasn't that level. I think this was the inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, it barely moved. It was just heading further and further away from VWAP, FERN, ISWH, TONR. These are all potential morning panic bounce plays. IOUS, CYBL as well, although this one I'd rather not trade so much because I'd have to do this one with E-Trade and I don't necessarily want to trade there. But if the setup looks that nice, I have to consider it. That's all I got. I just have to do a lot better, and hopefully I can be able to trade one of these morning panic bounce play setups a lot nicer.